Progressive era, which spanned from the 1890s to the 1920s, was a time of significant social, political, and economic change in the United States. It was driven by a desire to address the problems caused by industrialization, urbanization, and political corruption. One of the key components of this era was the work of muckrakers, investigative journalists who exposed societal issues such as child labor, unsafe working conditions, and corporate monopolies. Their writings brought national attention to these problems and spurred calls for reform. Notable muckrakers included Upton Sinclair, whose novel The Jungle exposed the unsanitary practices in the meat packing industry, and Ida Tarbell, who uncovered the corrupt practices of Standard Oil. Alongside the efforts of the muckrakers, the Progressive era saw significant social reforms, including the establishment of labor laws, the expansion of women's rights, such as the passage of the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote, and the push for government regulation of businesses to ensure fair competition and public safety. These efforts laid the foundation for modern social policies in the U.S. Right now, to introduce our last guest of the evening, Miss Amanda Wiles, to talk to us about the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire of 1911. How are you, Amanda?
I'm doing as well as I can.
Glad to have you here, Amanda. Now, the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire of 1911 was a pivotal event in the history of labor rights and workplace safety. Can you tell us a little bit more about the tragedy?
Yes. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. It was a terrible event that happened on March 25, 1911, in New York City. The factory where I worked was one of the biggest clothing factories in the city at the time. Most of the workers, like me, were young immigrant women. That day, a fire broke out on the top floors of the building, where we were making shirtwaists, blouses that were really popular. The factory was very unsafe, the doors were locked so workers couldn't take breaks, the fire escapes weren't strong enough, and there were no sprinklers or proper exits. When the fire started, the workers were stuck. Some tried to get out, but the doors were locked, and the fire escape broke when too many people tried to use it. Others had no choice but to jump out of the windows to escape the flames. In the end, 146 workers, mostly women, died.
You're telling me, it's clear how such a terrible event served as a catalyst for change. Thank you for sharing that, Amanda. Before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to add about the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire or what came afterwards?
Yes, I just want to remind everyone that the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire wasn't just a one-time event. It happened because for years, workers were ignored, treated poorly, and forced to work in unsafe conditions because they were seen as not important. But the workers, their families, and the people who fought for justice after the fire showed that even in the hardest times, people can make a change. The fire reminds us that we must always fight for workers' rights and make sure something like this never happens again. We owe it to the 146 people who died to remember them and keep fighting for fair and safe working conditions for everyone.
That, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today and shedding light on such an important moment in history. Send her back to 1912. And that's it. Thank you to all our guests, and thank you to our audience for tuning in. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's continue to learn from the past and work towards a better future for all. I'm King Majin, and good night.